What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Inmate to Roommate, When Will I Be Free? So let's get started with Veda, Annalise, and Mark. So we are at that point where Annalise has just discovered that Mark has a girl in his room that he had snuck in the night before. So she is trying to basically get into his room to confront Mark and the girl, and Mark is keeping her from coming into her room. So on one side, you have Mark trying to keep the door closed, and then on the other side, in the hallway, you have Annalise trying to bust that door open, trying to bust that door wide open. So they're tussling, they're going back and forth, back and forth. And the whole time I'm watching this, of course, I'm thinking, why isn't Veda intervening? Why is Veda just in the background watching Annalise struggle with Mark in this door? But I figure that maybe Veda is, he's probably going through some health issues or medical condition, and he is older than Annalise, so he probably didn't want to, hurt himself. So Annalise manages to open up the door and she busts into his room. And of course, the girl is there. So the girl, as soon as Annalise comes into the room, the girl runs out of the room. Annalise starts walking behind her, trying to chastise her about, what kind of a girl are you to try to sneak into a guy's room in the middle of the night? Don't you have any self worth? Don't you, blah, 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 blah. Basically, shaming her for being those kind of girls that sneak into boys' rooms in the middle of the night instead of having a guy that will walk you in through the front door of where he's staying, or a guy that will take you out, and a guy that will, treat you like you're worth something. So as Annalise is chastising the first girl, Mark sneaks into the bathroom because there's yet another girl that he had snuck in the night before. So in the bathroom, he tries to keep the door closed. Annalise discovers that there's another girl in the bathroom. So here we go again. So now she's trying to bust in through the bathroom door, and Mark is trying to keep her out. So they're tussling, going back and forth, back and forth. And then when she's able to make it into the bathroom, Mark gets all up in her face as if she was some dude off the street that he's about to go fist to fist with. I mean, he really, like, their faces were touching, like his cheek was up against her cheek practically. So he's like all up in her face, telling her to back off, back off, back off, getting really extremely physically aggressive with her. So this is when Veda decides to step in, because he's like, if it's going to get physical, I got to step in. So he comes into the bathroom and he separates the two of them, and then he physically throws Mark out. So Mark is upset. He takes his, well, he didn't take anything with him because he barely has anything. So the girls leave. Mark leaves after the girls, and Mark and Annalise, Veda and Annalise, they're kind of like just realizing that, yeah, this was not a good idea at all. This was a horrible idea. Annalise's daughter was right in telling them that they should not have made the decision to take this guy in. So Annalise talks about how she has like a really bad headache after all of that fighting. I'm pretty sure her blood pressure was sky high. Maybe that's why she was having a headache. And later on that day, the daughter comes over. Annalise's daughter comes over. So they tell her what's been going on with Mark. And the daughter's like, yeah, I told you this wasn't going to be a good idea. You're taking a guy from prison who isn't showing really any signs of trying to improve himself, and y'all basically let him live with y'all rent free, no responsibilities, no accountability, and he just basically ran all over y'all. So yeah, this was not a good idea at all. So the daughter is shocked that even Veda has had it with Mark, because Veda, I guess, between him and Annalise, Veda has the most patience and he's got the biggest heart. So even for Veda to be like, I'm fed up and I'm through with him, he's got to go, the daughter was like, yeah, it must have gotten real serious up in here for Veda to not want to give Mark any more chances. So they go into Mark's room and they start packing up his stuff. Not even packing, they just start throwing his stuff in garbage bags. And they discover on his desk a bag of weed, and they also discover all of these Motel 6 key cards. And they happen to know exactly which Motel 6 they belong to, because both Veda and Annalise were like, yeah, that's the Motel 6 where all the girls go to turn tricks. And Veda knew the exact location. He knew exactly what went down. He was giving a lot of, detailed information about this particular Motel 6 and what goes on at this Motel 6, to the point where Annalise in their confessional looked at him and she was like, how do you know so much about this particular motel? Like, what's really going on? So they take all of his junk, put him in trash bags, throw him out on the curb, and they're done. They are through with Mark. And I'm like, it took y'all this long to realize that Mark was not a good fit for your home. It took y'all this long because he had been disrespecting the home, disrespecting Veda and Annalise since he came out of prison. Since his first hour out of prison, he was disrespectful because he had those other two girls. Remember when he first left prison, Veda and Annalise thought it was just going to be them to greet him, but three girls ended up showing up, and then he basically brought the girls along when they were trying to take him out to eat for his first free meal. Um, Mark brought the other three girls along. I'm pretty sure Veda had to pay for everybody, so he was disrespectful since he came out of prison. He broke his curfew. He wouldn't listen to them. He was very combative, argumentative. So he should have been gone a long time ago, because he was not showing any signs of wanting to improve his life. He wasn't showing any signs of wanting to listen to them and wanting to be mentored by them. He wasn't showing any signs at all that he was taking this seriously. He was just using them, eating up their food, using up their utilities, and being more of a burden than a benefit for them. So a good riddance to Mark. Hopefully, not hopefully, I really don't care what happens to Mark. I'm just glad that Veda and Annalise have seen the light and have finally let this user and abuser, because the way he got up into Annalise's face like that, it was kind of uncomfortable to watch because it really looked like he wanted to hit her. He was so much in her face and yelling at her so loud. Um, it could have gotten physical if real quick if Ada hadn't stepped in. I don't think Mark would have given a damn that there were cameras there. Moving on to Cindy and Jennifer. So Cindy is having a garage sale, and Jennifer makes it a point to let us know that she had worked really hard in getting this garage sale together. She worked really hard in cleaning and decluttering Cindy's home or her garage or wherever they got all this junk from. And so she's expecting some of the profits. And I'm kind of like, okay, what profits? Because they had they first of all, Cindy lives like in a rural area, so there's not a lot of traffic in this particular area. And I don't know how people would have known that there was a garage sale there, because like I said, she lives in a rural area. They really didn't show how she advertised her garage sale, so they're sitting there waiting for someone to show up, and it took forever for the first customers to show up. All in all, only 4 people came and they only made $12. So I wonder how much of that $12 Cindy is going to give to Jennifer for all the hard work that she did in cleaning out and decluttering her house. So Jennifer's mom calls her while they're waiting for customers to show up. Jennifer's mom calls her, and her mom tells her that, hey, if you've got the time, you can swing by my house to see your children. So obviously Jennifer's happy about that. She's excited about seeing her kids, because I don't think she's seen them since she's been out of prison. Now she does ask Cindy to come along with her, and I was kind of wondering, like, why does she want Cindy to come with her when she goes to see her kids for the first time since being released? And the only thing that I can think of is maybe just for emotional support. So they get to Jennifer's mother's home. Jennifer has 3 boys. The 2 oldest ones are like teenagers or preteen. And then she has a baby, a 1 year old, or like he's a little bit over 1 years old. So Jennifer tells us that when she left to go to prison, her baby was barely sitting up on his own, and now he's walking. So I was just like shocked that she had such a young child, and that she couldn't get it together enough to want to be around for her baby. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be gone away from your baby like that. So whatever her issues are, they run deep. That having a child, having a brand new baby, was not enough to keep her on the straight and narrow. So if she still has addiction issues, I pray to God that she goes through counseling or therapy or whatever they got to do to help her addiction, because it's just really sad that she had to go to prison and leave her brand new baby behind. So she goes there at her mother's house. Now Cindy's outside, and Jennifer goes in and she brings out the baby to introduce to Cindy. And so they spend some time with the little one. They play with him. They, throw the ball back and forth with him. And then when it came time for her to go in to get get her older children, it took her a really long time to come back out. So Cindy's out there waiting and waiting and waiting. And like 20, 25 minutes later, all that we can see is Cindy coming out. She steps out of her mother's home. We don't see her mother, but we hear her mother tell Jennifer, did I say Cindy? Jennifer steps out. Jennifer steps out of her mother's home, and we hear her mother tell her, and don't you come back on my property ever again, or something to that effect. And I was like, what the hell is happening here? So she came out. She didn't have the two older children with her, and it was time to go. So as we're driving back to Cindy's house, Cindy's asking Jennifer, like, what the hell happened in there? And Jennifer says that her mom made it difficult for her to see her older children. Something about how her mom purposely planned other things for the two boys so that it could interfere with her visitation or something to that effect. Whatever happened, Jennifer was putting the blame on her mother as if her mother was preventing her from seeing her children. I'm thinking to myself, but didn't your mother invite you to come over to specifically see all of your kids? So why would she all of a sudden last minute plan things for them so that you wouldn't be able to see them, or plan for you to see them on a day that they were busy with something else? The whole thing didn't make any sense to me. I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I'm not going to assume. Who knows what happened, but evidently Jennifer and her mom pissed each other off. She couldn't see her children, or she saw her children but she couldn't bring them out to meet Cindy, or whatever the situation was. It didn't go well. So as Jennifer's talking about this and how basically like painting this picture that her mom is not the greatest in her eyes because, she's preventing her from seeing her kids and spending time with her children, Cindy tells her, oh man, Jennifer, I didn't know you had it this bad. And I see things differently now, because at first I thought you were just exaggerating on how bad your mom was. But now I see firsthand that your mom really is trying to interfere with your relationship with your kids. And I feel so bad for you. And I'm just going to try to, take it easy on you from here on out. I'm not going to be as hard on you or as strict on you anymore. And I'm looking at Cindy and I'm like, girl, the lies you tell. Cindy to me looks like somebody who was not going to be easy on anybody. Cindy to me acts very entitled. And like the fact that she expects Jennifer to wait on her hand and foot, she expects Jennifer to like give up her own life just to cater to her life. I don't see Cindy letting up on Jennifer anytime soon. Like, I don't see that happening at all. But that's what she said she was going to do. She was going to take a little bit easier on Jennifer because Jennifer is going through so much personally. We'll see how that goes. Now, Jennifer, girl, look, she was talking about her children to us. She's crying, talking about how her children deserve so much better than what she's been able to give them. Her mom has full custody of her boys. So her mom calls all the shots. And her mom is the one that determines, when, where, and how she can see her kids. And Jennifer talks about how she still feels like she's in prison because she still has to follow by someone else's rules and regulations. And all I can say, and this might sound harsh, but all I can say is I think the grandmother is being very protective of the children because of the fact that the mom is very unstable. Jennifer is extremely unstable, and Jennifer has made it very clear that she would rather choose drugs or live the life of the streets or whatever than be there for her children 100%. I understand that addiction is a disease, that it's hard to control, that once you take that first hit of whatever, you're hooked. I get that it controls your life, it controls your body, but the children shouldn't suffer. Okay, the children shouldn't suffer. Yes, Jennifer, we feel for you. We understand that you're going through a really hard time. But if you feel like you're not at that place yet where you can be consistent with your kids and you can stay out of trouble and you can get the help that you need, you really don't need to be around them, disappointing them time and time again. I know that sounds so harsh, but I'm always going to root for the children. I'm always going to want whatever's best for the kids. And whatever happened to Jennifer, it all boils down to she's where she's at in life because of the choices that she made. And if she's in the throes of addiction, like, wow. Anyways, let's just move on. So David and Aaron. So David wanted to have a one-on-one dinner with Aaron, just the two of them alone, so they can talk about this third roommate situation or second roommate situation. Because David wants to have another inmate who's about to be released come live with them, and Aaron does not want another inmate in the home. He says because he himself is still going through addiction issues, and it wouldn't be a good idea to have another addict in the house. And he also talks about how he doesn't want this other inmate to use and manipulate David. And I'm thinking to myself, Aaron, you're the number one user and manipulator of David, because Aaron is trying to manipulate David into allowing his girlfriend, Lavanya, to come and stay with them instead of this other inmate. So this is what David wants to discuss with Aaron. So at the dinner, Aaron shows up, but he also shows up with Lavanya, and David did not like that at all. He wanted this just to be between the two of them, talking about household issues, like what's going to be happening within the home. And this has got nothing to do with Lavanya. But it brings Lavanya there. And David wanted to know, the first thing he wanted to know from Aaron was, is he at least open-minded to meet the potential roommate? Can you just at least meet him? And Aaron was like, no, he doesn't want to meet him. He doesn't want to see him. He doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want nothing to do with this other guy. So then Aaron says in his confessional that, he says in his confessional that David is so naive. He doesn't understand that these prisoners are just out to use people. And once again, I'm like, aren't you really talking about yourself, Aaron? Like, aren't you deflecting your issues on this other inmate? Because whatever you're describing about this other inmate, it's like I see that in you. You're using and manipulating David. So Aaron wants Lavanya to move in, and he makes it very clear to David that he would rather have Lavanya move in than the other inmate because of the fact that Lavanya is in the same situation as the other inmate. So what's the difference? You're all about helping ex-felons. She's an ex-felon. She suffers with addiction, whatever. So what's the difference? Why not just move in Lavanya? And so I guess David gets uncomfortable with this, or he gets not uncomfortable. He gets fed up with Aaron trying to sell Lavanya to him, because David is like, okay, I don't want to move Lavanya into my home because of all the stuff that you told me about Lavanya. You did not paint a very positive picture of her. You told me so much negative crap about her. I'd be an idiot to want this woman in my damn home, because you really dragged her. You really dragged her through the coals. You painted her out to be this really horrible person that nobody would want to live with. You couldn't even stand her, and now you want me to move her into my home. I don't think so. And he's saying this in front of Lavanya, but it don't faze Lavanya at all. Lavanya's like a tough cookie. She's like real, real street, right? Real street. Like she's one of those people that real street smart. So none of this stuff fazed her. She really didn't care, because the bottom line is, can she move in or not? So David tells Aaron that, you really have lost sight of the mission. And the mission is to reform the prison system, because David and Aaron first met because they both were working on prison reform issues while Aaron was incarcerated. That's how they met. That's how their paths crossed. They were both involved in prison reform. So now that Aaron is free, it seems like he no longer cares about prison reform. He just wants to have a good time with his girlfriend and move his girlfriend into David's home. And David is like, look, Lavanya may be an ex-inmate. Lavanya may be somebody struggling with addiction and trying to get her life back together after, coming from prison. I get that. But I'm interested in moving people into my home who are all of the above, but are also interested and have shown an interest in prison reform. Like, don't forget about that. That's the reason why you're living with me, because me and you, that's what we had in common. We were working on reforming the prison system. I'm interested in people who are willing to help the cause, who want to do the marches, who want to pass out the flyers and the pamphlets, who want to go to the rallies, who want to go down to City Hall and protest about prison reform. Those are the type of people that I want in my home. Lavanya may be an ex-con, blah 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 blah, but is she involved with prison reform? And can you show me examples of her trying to change the prison system? So that's David's whole thing. So the next day, they're having another conversation about this, and David says, look, why don't we compromise? You move in Lavanya, and I'll move in the inmate. How about that? And Aaron still said, hell no. And I'm thinking, David, you're doing too much negotiating and attempting to compromise, and this is your damn home. You make the decision of who you want to live with you. And if Aaron don't like it, he can leave. And that's what he said. He said that if David moves in this other prisoner, I'm out. Okay, good riddance. That's just another room for another inmate to move in that's going to be able to go out and help David with the marches and changing the laws and blah, 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 and improving the prison system. Moving on to Emily and Jason. So Emily needs her pipes cleaned because her kitchen sink is completely clogged up. And of course, she blames Jason. It seems like everything that goes wrong in our house, whether it happened while Jason was there or before he showed up, she blames it on Jason. So her sinks are clogged up. I'm thinking, don't both of y'all use the sink and the dishes and all that other stuff? But whatever. She blames it all on Jason. So Jason is passing through and she tells him, hey, can you come fix this damn sink because you messed it up. You clogged it up. These are all your dishes here. You don't do anything around the house. So can you at least help me unclog the sink? He's like, oh, I got to go. I'm busy right now. She's like, no, you're always leaving. You're always blah, blah, blah. You need to come help me unclog this sink. So she had like this metal wire that she was trying to use to unclog the sink. He goes into the bathroom and he comes out with a toilet plunger and he's going to use that to unclog the sink. And when she saw that, she was like, oh, hell no. What the hell is your problem? You cannot use a nasty, disgusting, bacteria-filled toilet plunger to unclog a kitchen sink where we put our dishes in. You've lost your mind. He was like, oh, just rinse it off. It'll be fine. No, that didn't happen. That's not what we're going to do. So while later on, she's giving her interview with the producers in her home. So she's giving her little interview, her little confessional, and there's a bang at the door. And I think she looked out the window and she saw that it was one of Jason's people. So she tells Jason, hey, one of your people are here. So he comes out, he opens up the door, and it's this dude who is accusing Jason of sleeping with his girlfriend. I don't know if the guy thought that the girlfriend was there at the house at the time because Jason was like, no, I don't. I think he tried to play it off like he didn't know who he was talking about. He was like, no, she's not here. I don't know who that is. But he knew exactly who this man was talking about because this girl has been in Emily's home while Emily was away at work. It's one of the girls that Jason would sneak in. So the confrontation starts off verbal between Jason and this guy. Then it moves into the front yard. It turns into shoving. Then it turns into a full-blown fight. So now they're actually fighting on Emily's front yard. You know, she's yelling and screaming at them to stop. The producers have to separate them. And Emily's like, this is exactly what I was trying to avoid. This is the reason why I didn't want you having your people come over to my house because I knew that was going to lead to this. And what are my neighbors going to think? And Jason's like, oh, screw your neighbors. So he walks right back into the house. He walks right back into the house, following her. And she's like, what the hell? Because she's done with Jason. She's absolutely done with Jason. Now, Emily has been pissed off with Jason since day one. Okay, since day one. He's another guy that wants to disrespect someone else's home by sneaking in strangers into their home without them knowing. And I'm not understanding why Emily hasn't kicked him out. Emily is pissed. Okay, Emily doesn't have a Veda to calm her down. She doesn't have a Veda to kind of like, tell her, oh, give them another chance. Emily, why haven't you kicked this man out of your house? I don't understand. As soon as you sneak a stranger into my home who can possibly rob me or harm me, you're out. Especially since that was her number one rule. Nobody comes into my home. Do not bring your people into my home. And he broke that number one rule. It's time for him to go. Emily, you want to act big and bad because you're always cussing him out. You're always talking crap to him, insulting him. Why haven't you thrown him out? That's all I want to know. And he's not paying rent because he loses at the races. He has no money. Why don't you throw him out? Anyway, y'all, that is my review. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.